Audio Jungle.
The Los Angeles Rams. I think I want to start this off with the Jets absolutely fumbling the bag by not accepting a massive trade offer for them to move up to the 10 spot to take Brock Bowers. And also on top of that, the biggest what if is if Brock Bowers ended up in the Rams offense with Sean McVay. We were cheated of an elite piece going to Sean McVay, and I think the whole league would have been pissed off about that. But I know that doesn't have much to do with what we're talking about right now, like in any way, shape, or form. But I would have loved to see Brock Bowers with Sean McVay, and the Jets are so stupid.
That would have been so awesome to see Puka, Cooper, uh, Brock Bowers, and then Kyron Williams all on the same offense
Crazy.
with Matt Stafford slinging the rock.
It would have legitimately been crazy. But let's get on track. 2023 Rams, they went 10-7, home 5-3, away 5-4. Wild card loss 23-24 to the Lions. I think that this team played well above expectation last year. I don't think a lot of people had much hope for this Rams team. Sean McVay was going to retire at the end of that last offseason. Aaron Donald might have retired. There was just a lot of smoke around this team. And I think that the big thank you that we can always say to the Rams fans that can say is to say thank you to Sean McVay. 4 10-win seasons, regular season, 70-46. He wins 60% of his games. Postseason, 7-3, 70% of his games, 1-1 in Super Bowls. With him in your building, you legitimately have a chance every single year. And I think last year was a testament to that because they balled out.
So they actually started off very poorly. They started off the season 3-6 and then had their bye week. And after the bye, well, first off, during that bye week, Sean McVay absolutely hopped in his bag and reconstructed that entire offense. And after that, they ended up going 7-1. So
balled out.
That's probably the biggest perk that you can have as as a fan base. If you have a head coach that is smart, perk. If you have a fan base that's smart enough to have
fan base,
what are you doing?
A coach that's smart.
Hold
enough.
on, no, hold on. If you're a fan base, the luckiest thing that you can have is a coach that is an absolute genius and can get in the lab when things are going drastically wrong and completely turn your season around.
You're not wrong.
I think that goes severely understated with how important that is, because you can have all the talent in the world, and the Rams have good players on both sides of the football, and they were 3-6 to start the season. Bye week, Sean McVay completely figures it out. They go 7-1 and finish the season. Same thing happened with the Packers that we talked about. And then if you look on the other side of the ball, Eagles had plenty of talent on both sides, and they made no adjustments, and they completely looked like dog shit. So, it just goes to show, there's levels to this head coaching thing. And Rams fans, I know you probably love McVay, but I would do anything to have that guy as my head coach.
Yeah, he's good. Pause, but he's good. I mean, what's not to like about Sean McVay? I think the stats that I said and what you just said encapsulates that extremely well. Before I want to get into anything, I feel like it's almost essential to talk about the Puka Nacua breakout. 5th round picked at 177, 160 targets, 105 receptions, 1,486 yards, 6 touchdowns in the playoff game against the Lions. 9 receptions, 181 yards, and a touchdown. Rookie records, rookie receiving yards. That was a 63-year-old record. I know that everybody talks about kind of peak wide receiver play that we have at this time, and I think that we do, but it is absolutely crazy to think that the rookie receiving yard record was 63 years old. And then I don't know if anybody will ever break the receiving touchdown record, because Randy Moss had 19 as a rookie, and that's like a 20-plus-year-old record that I don't think will ever get touched. But and then obviously the receptions record, those are better statistical seasons than Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, all the guys that everybody absolutely loves. What an absolutely insane draft pick by the Rams. And I was lucky enough to have him on my fantasy team last year and watch him ball the entire year.
Yeah, he's one of them ones. I mean, if it wasn't a quarterback centric award, he would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year.
No doubt. No doubt.
So,
Yeah. So, absolutely insane draft pick by them and absolutely insane output by Puka Nacua. And I think he's probably going to do the same thing this year. And if not, maybe not yards wise, I could see him having some positive regression in the touchdown area. He only had 6 last year. I could see him probably getting more than 6.
Yeah, he could
Okay.
easily slide to, and it wouldn't.
10.
It's not like this isn't crazy. I was gonna say he could easily slide to the number one, like to be the solidified number one, and Cooper Kupp at number 2. Especially Cooper Kupp's another year older. He's what, 30?
I don't even think that's a conversation to be had. I think Puka Nacua is the number one and Kupp's the 2. I just
Okay,
think
fair.
I think that it's been. I know that Cup. We're so far removed from the Triple Crown Cup season at this point. Like Cup's never getting back to what that was. He's 31. I think that he takes great care of his body. I think he's a dog. But Puka at this point, I think is just flat a better player than Cooper Kupp. I do.
Fair enough.
Losses. Something that I feel like hasn't been highlighted enough, and whoever you listen to, I don't know. I know people love to come in the comments and be like, "Oh, like you guys just steal your takes from ESPN." I don't even watch ESPN, so get off my
ESPN
dick.
is the worst show sports wise on any platform.
Like, get off my dick. Like, I do not watch ESPN. Don't disrespect me. But why is nobody talking about that the Rams had the best defensive player of our generation retire in Aaron Donald? He impacted the game in legitimately every single way possible, ways that we can't even comprehend because teams had to specialize different fronts for them to just have the protection that they needed so the quarterback could throw the football. We'll never see another player like him. And I feel like everybody that talks about the Rams currently are like, oh, like, well, they had young players play really well, and like this guy might take the next step, and they drafted Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk. They could throw 50 guys out there. They're not nobody's Aaron Donald, and none of those guys will be an Aaron Donald. And I feel like that it's not being talked about right now enough that they lost the greatest defensive player of our generation in his prime. It's not like he fell off.
No, he did not. I think as we approach the regular season, it will begin to come back into conversation. Just like how much of a loss it is that that Aaron Donald retired for the Rams' sake and for like the sake of the NFL, because that dude was obviously fun to watch, and it's not particularly all that fun to watch defensive tackles every football game, but if there's a guy that you're going to tune in to watch, it's probably him. But yeah, I think once we get back to the first couple weeks of the season and say the Rams have a gaping hole on their defensive line, then I think the impact of Aaron Donald will fully be brought to light again, which it should never really leave just because of how good he was. But
yeah, no, I'm right with you. I feel like over the last 2 seasons too, like you lose Jalen Ramsey, who for a long time was the best corner in the NFL. And then
sassiest too.
the next year, you lose Aaron Donald, who's legitimately the most special player on the defensive side of the football we've seen. And you lose your defensive coordinator and Raheem Morris. And everybody's just like, yep, well, like the Rams are going to make the playoffs and the Rams are fine. I think that this is something that should be heavily monitored and taken into consideration when you're sitting and starting to think about what you're expecting from the Rams in 2024. I think that that's an extremely fair statement to say, just because you lost so much from the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 new guys on defense.
It's a lot of guys.
2 of them are rookies on your defensive line.
It's a lot of guys.
Yeah, that's cause for concern.
Additions to this team: Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk, Cam Curl, Tre'Davious White. Am I missing anybody?
Backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, fuck Jimmy Garoppolo, dude.
Yeah,
one, he's like legitimately one of the most handsome men that I've ever seen in my life. Like,
it's bullshit.
I can admit it. Second, he only goes to cool places. Like he was in New England for a little bit, whatever. He goes to the Bay for like half a decade.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Vegas, and then like I'm not going to say that, but he goes to Vegas. If you know the story, you know the story. In the comments, like, let me know.
That's right. Yeah, you know.
But and then you get to go to LA. Like, dude, honestly, fuck this guy Jimmy Garoppolo. He's walking around handsome as hell, making a lot of money, and dating porn stars. Like, I hate this.
And
guy.
he just gets to be the backup quarterback now.
Yeah, now he's just legitimately chilling.
Yeah. Oh wait, did you say Blake Corum too?
Oh yeah, Blake Corum at running back, which is obviously I think a big ad. My bad.
Yeah, I like that pickup on their part.
So, and help me out here because I don't want to sound like too much of a hater when I'm talking about the Rams. Why do I not like this? And I think what I think about is just health. You get Tre'Davious White. Why would anybody be excited about getting Tre'Davious White at this point in his career? That's my first question. He hasn't been the same in like 3 years. What? He tore his Achilles, tore his ACL, back-to-back seasons. I just don't love that.
Yeah, I think so.
I just don't love that. Kyron Williams has already come out and says that he has a foot injury. I don't know how serious it is. I mean, it doesn't sound great to me.
He's got a foot.
Yeah, he's got a foot. Doc said he could put any weight on it. And then, I mean, Kupp struggled with injury all last year. He had the hamstring in the beginning of the year. He couldn't get it right, and then he hurt his ankle. And he's 31 years old. And then lastly, Stafford's tough as hell. Love Stafford, but there is legitimately a point in the season where you think that he might have broken every single rib in his body and he might not play football again. So
yeah,
I don't know. Talk me off of it. Tell me why I'm wrong. Like, I just am not loving everything I just said. The health, the losing the greatest defensive player of our generation, losing Raheem Morris on defense. I'm more cautious of this team than like willing to accept that they're going to be like the same that they were last year.
Yeah, honestly, the more that I think about it and the more that I look through this, I'm starting to feel the same way. However, the Sean McVay factor is still looming in the back of my head because as long as Matt Stafford can throw the football, then I think they have a decent chance. Like, obviously, he's going to fight through every single possible injury that he can, which we saw him do last year. And I mean, you have Puka Nacua out there. I don't think, even if Kyron Williams misses a game here and there, I hated Blake Corum at Michigan, but I thought he was a really good running back.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a feasible guy that you can plug in there. I don't know. Like, I'm not so worried about offense. This is another team where I'm worried about defense. Because you can't replace Aaron Donald. And their young guys had really good seasons last year. The odds of them taking another step are probably not great, but who knows? Anything can happen, I guess. But I like the 2 guys that they drafted. I think Jared Verse is going to be really good, and same thing with Brandon Fisk, but I don't know if that's going to happen immediately.
I think that, one, I don't love Jared Verse personally. Second, Brandon Fisk, he is what he is. I don't think that either of these guys were like bona fide like picks. Like, okay, like we got our next guy.
I don't think so either. I think they'll be like higher level rotational players.
And I think that if Raheem Morris was still the D coordinator, I think we might be having a different convo about what this makeup of this defense could look like. But like we were just talking about the Cardinals, and I'm not comparing these two, but like I feel like that like you don't have like we talked about Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon's a defensive coach. Can he get that team to play above expectation on the defensive side of the football? What if this defense just falls flat? Like I do think that offensively they're going to be able to hang in with the best of them, but at what point does having a weak defense take a toll? Also, when we talk about injuries, if you go back to 2022, they won 5 games because of injuries. Stafford
Yeah.
wasn't healthy, guys written out of the lineup, and we saw how quickly you can go from being a double-digit win team to winning 5 or below games, and I feel like that this is where that team's at. I feel like they're extremely top-heavy. I feel like if something goes wrong with one of those core guys, I think that we can see this team fall off. I really do.
Question for you. Was last year the year of the Baker Mayfield game? That was
No,
2
it
years ago.
was 2 years ago
2 years ago.
when
Yeah,
they
you're
won
right.
5
Baker
games.
Mayfield wasn't Tampa. Yeah, okay. I'm getting my seasons confused.
No, you're fine. But I do think that, like I said, I just think it's hard because if Stafford goes down, their season's over. I mean, we saw Garoppolo. Garoppolo is a shell of himself. He sucks.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't know. I don't want to sound like a hater, and I also don't want to be the dumbass to bet against Sean McVay, who has 4-10 win season, who wins 60% of his games, who is a dog, who has one of the best, who has a top 10 quarterback, who has one of the best offenses in the entire NFL. But I think all of that's great. I think that this defense is extremely, extremely suspect, and I think that their secondary is extremely weak. So, with all that being said, I don't know. 2024
I have another
prediction.
stat that's going to feed into your negativity, I think.
Okay, let's hear it.
So they finished 17th in the NFL in pressure rate, and they only had 41 sacks last year.
Okay.
And that is on top of losing Aaron Donald. And now you have to play 2 rookies.
You lose Aaron Donald, and I think that stat's also a secondary stat a little bit. I think the secondary plays into that a little bit as well. I know that
Yeah.
not that many people think that way, but I think that their secondary is still pretty weak. They have Akello Weatherspoon as their number 1 corner last year.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just don't love what they have done on the defensive side of the football. I feel like they've lost more at this point than they can kind of comprehend. So, 2024 prediction. Like I said, this division's extremely tough, and we're going to do a wrap up of all 4. But anytime that you have 2 of the best head coaches in the NFL, like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, I feel like the safest thing to do is to rank the QBs. And I think Stafford is the second best QB in this division behind Purdy. So with I lean towards them being the second team, but like I said, I don't want to be lazy when I'm talking about this and just be like everybody else, be like, well, Niners, the Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals. So I think that this team, like I said, it's top heavy, and they're an injury away from being a 5-win team or a 9-win team. I think that that's kind of where they live.
I mean, I think a lot of teams are probably an injury away from being a 5-win team. But I
But
mean,
how
I've
many
got the
teams are you worried about the health of their quarterback the way that you're worried about Matt Stafford, who seems to always be banged up every single season for the last since they won a Super Bowl? He was injured
but
the Super Bowl year.
but he also like plays through a lot of that shit
Bro,
too.
after the 2022 season, there were reports that he was going to retire because of his spinal cord. Like,
Yeah,
it's
and
not
he
like
played and
I know he
they
did.
won 10 games.
I know he did, but these aren't injuries where he like bangs his like ankle up. Like these are
Where he
like
steps on a Lego.
yeah, like he's like has it's like
I
smoke
know,
around the fact that he
severe. Yeah.
might
Yeah,
retire because he has spinal cord problems. Like I'm not
yeah,
like reaching. So I
I
think
know.
like the severity of the injury risk that he could have is greater than like a I don't know, like a Jalen Hurts who has like a bone bruise and can play through it.
I mean, I agree with you. But again, like I can't go back. I can't stop going back to those last 8 games where McVay like completely shifted the offense, and made it so Stafford was getting the ball away quicker. They ran more play action. They were giving him more time, like manufacturing and building in more time with some of this play action and getting the ball out of his hand quicker. So like some of those things are still stuck in the back of my head, and I hate betting against Sean McVay as long as there is a healthy quarterback. So
I agree.
I want to stick them right there at 9-8, but I think it could realistically, it's going to probably be between one of those two numbers, 8 or 9 wins.
So I'm gonna change my answer. 2024 or 2023 season, you said they started off what, 3-6?
Yeah.
I think that if you have a start similar to that next season with the state of this defense and what they have, I don't think it's possible to bounce back. So I don't know how many games they're going to win, but I am going to say that the Rams will miss the playoffs this year.
Okay. I don't hate that. Honestly, I don't hate that at all.
Yeah. It's just
because I think you
no
could
hate.
realistically only get the Niners out of that division, and then NFC North could have 3 teams maybe.
Yeah. Hey, like I said though, always hard to bet against Sean McVay, so don't rip me in the comments for that. He's one of the greatest head coaches I've ever seen.
He's probably the 3rd best coach in the NFL.
Who's 2?
I think Shanahan.
I mean, McVay has
no, I disagree.
Shanahan.
Yeah, it's probably McVay and then Shanahan.
I think it's Reed, McVay, Shanahan.
Yeah. I agree with that.
If Shanahan wins a Super Bowl, then yeah, I'll bump him above McVay because I think that he's been more successful. Like over the last few years, I don't think like
he just hasn't won the big one.
They have won the big one, plain and simple.
Yeah.
All right. So
I agree.
All right. Cool. Rams. Nice hearing from you.
Audio Jungle.